Talk to me. WSRadio.com.
Welcome to the Bottom Line Sports Show, an inside look at all game day sports action. From Major League Baseball to college football and basketball, the NFL and the NBA, key matchups, developments, point spreads and totals, line changes and game analysis. It's a radio show that talks its name. The Bottom Line from San Diego. It's game time with the Bottom Line Sports Show.
We're live in San Diego. We're just after 10:35 on a beautiful Chamber of Commerce afternoon. March Madness has been spectacular, and I couldn't think of a finer young man that I could bring on to this broadcast at this time than Jamie Dixon, and he's the head coach of the TCU Horned Frogs that are going dancing in New York in the NIT tournament that's taking place. But Jamie, thanks for joining us. How are you on this Sunday morning?
I'm doing great, Felix. How you doing? We just landed in New York, actually. We're going over to West Point to practice here today, and then tomorrow we'll practice down in the city, and then play on Tuesday. So we just landed here, and it's been a pretty good trip so far.
Jamie, my heart is out to you because last Sunday or 2 weeks ago, Selection Sunday, you and I talked, we've texted, you've been a friend, I've entertained you in Del Mar. You've got to meet a lot of friends. We have some great connections. You know my loyalty and allegiance to my best friend, Jerry Tarkanian. We compare a lot of stories. You're the head basketball coach of TCU, but, I don't look at you as the basketball coach at TCU. I look at you as the head basketball coach of my hometown, University of Pittsburgh. And you did a tremendous job back there. And talk a little bit about those days, because that was Big East basketball. The game has changed. Bring us to the forefront.
Yeah, no, it's been a long ride, a long run, and I think you're referring to Sunday with the NCAA tournament. We definitely thought we were going to be in that tournament, and we were shocked when we didn't get invited. So it was a tough day for us, and then we had to make it get our minds together, get our hearts together, and get ready to play in the NIT. And so we've won 3 games. We've played well. We beat Nebraska. We beat Sam Houston State. We beat Creighton in our last one. A new Big East team now, in the new Big East, as I call it. So we're out here, and then we're going to end up, ironically, playing Texas here in the NIT in the semifinals. But as far as the Big East and going to Pittsburgh, for me as a West Coast guy, I had a lot of roots in New York. My parents are from there, so going to the Big East was a real attraction to me. And my age, at that time, the Big East was the premier tournament, a premier event league in the country. It was the one on TV. So I grew up watching the Big East in college, and so going and playing a big part of it was an exciting time.
Jamie Dixon joining us here. Jamie, my executive producer, the president of the network, Wade Taylor, and I have been working together for 5 years in building programs and trying to get to the next tier. And we've shared something about my loyalty of what I would want to project in getting involved in helping kids and doing a show on Sport Kids where that, it changes very quickly. And my next question is a very interesting question I have for you, because here you are 2 weeks ago on a Sunday thinking that you're going to be invited to the big dance, which you worked forward to. You come out of a very big, tough Big 12 conference, and I think you had a losing record in conference, if I stand correct.
Right, yes, we did.
Okay, so now the conference structure of how tough Big 12 or the Big 10 or the Pac-12, it's all conference by conference. Of course, the ACC is going to draw little teams, but there has never been a bigger conference than the Big East of having bids. I mean, there had to be at least 12 bids for the Big East when you had 20 teams, right?
Well, in the one year we had 11 bids. That was the record. We had 11 of our 16 teams got in. And the interesting thing about that year was we had those 11 teams, but those 5 teams at the bottom really were not competitive with the other 11. And so when you look at conferences and how you rate them, if you look top to bottom, the Big 12 now, and I've been in the best. I've been in the ACC. I've been in the Big East when they called it the best. The ACC when they called it the best, and now the Big 12. West Virginia came in last place. Since I've been here, West Virginia came in last place this year. Texas came in, Oklahoma and Texas came in last place the first year I was there. And Iowa State, who is a very good team this year, came in last place. So it just goes to show you how good this conference has been top to bottom. Now, we may not have had the national championship caliber team, the best team in the country or in those years, but we've certainly had top to bottom the best teams. We just don't have any bad teams, I guess is a simple way to put it. And the other thing is we play everybody twice in our conference, which makes our conference, our Power 5 conference, different than the others because we play a round robin, home and home. So, we had, as you mentioned, we had a losing record, but 7 of our losses were to top 12 teams, top 10 or top 12 teams. Kansas State and Texas Tech we lost twice to. So those were the best. Those are very good teams. Now we should have found a way to win a home game in a couple of those, but we lost them down the stretch, and that's what they held against us in the NCAA tournament. So. But we had all the good numbers. The projections had us all in, and but it's been a great taste of character for our guys and how they've responded with 3 wins, and so we're looking forward to get 2 more in New York.
You know how my mind is like scanning and it's just like roaming right now because I have, as you're speaking, I'm writing down 5 or 6 different questions that I want to ask you. And one of the great things about being loyal and having a relationship with anybody is being comfortable. And I feel comfortable every time I talk to you because I've watched your body of work. I know a little bit about you. You're a Southern California guy. You have solid credentials, and you went back to TCU, but I got sidetracked in my question. So now on that Sunday, here you're getting your team together. You're expecting to get an invitation to the big party, and all of a sudden you get rejected. How do you make that transformation from Sunday when you meet your boys for practice on Monday?
Well, the interesting thing on that one was for the first time, and I've been the head coach. I think I've been determined. 13 different times NCAA tournament. We had planned on practicing immediately after the selection show. So we anticipated the possibility of practicing, having to play on Tuesday in one of the playing games. So we had a plan to practice on that Sunday and put a quick scouting report together of a team that we were going to play. Instead, we didn't know who we were playing. We went out and practiced, and obviously our guys were emotionally, and they were just drained. And so we really just had to find a way to just get through that night, get through that practice, and get them ready for Monday because we were going to play on Wednesday.
Okay, stop right there. Now you said we'll have fun. Now you're the coach who's thinking that your next step is going to be how do I get ready for the big dance, and now you have to make that transition and making it fun. Yeah. How did you make it fun?
We had to get through it, get a sweat. Have some. There were a couple guys that were not ready. That were too disappointed and didn't want to. Were talking about not practicing. So I decided to go with shirts and skins, make it a fun game-like situation and like a pickup game type thing. Had them pick teams, and once you got them out there playing, the blood started flowing and they got a little talking. And all of a sudden we eased them back into it. And so by the end of the night, we were ready to go. We had a very good practice on the following day on Monday in preparation for Wednesday's game because I just didn't want to practice with we didn't have an opponent at that time as well because
So you say that you had 2 players that were dejected and didn't really want to practice and didn't want to continue because the devastation of not getting the bid. was so overwhelming to them. So let me ask you this, Jamie, as a personal friend, like, how do you deal with that type of behavior, and how has that changed, or has it become more difficult because of the social media outlets that these kids have? There has to be a lot more distractions than when you were at Pitt going to TCU with the cultural change.
Yeah, no, it's a different time, and social media really is a big part of it. And they can get opinions. They have they're validated oftentimes from people they don't know, and outside voices are often a big part of what they're listening to. So it's a bit of a challenge. It's something that's been talked about over and over. And but I think if you can get to the core of the kids and understand and try to get for a team that the only people that matter, the most important people that matter, is your family, is the guys, the team that you're a part of, and not the outside voices. And that's the challenge that you have constantly. It's something that we talk about often. But it's not changing. It's not going away. So you have to adjust, but you have to also acknowledge it. But and you can't take it away from them, because that's what they know. That's what they've grown up on. And so for older people, it's kind of hard to understand, hard to grasp. But it's certainly a big part of the young people, and pretty much everybody now.
Absolutely right about that. But Jamie, the good part of the interview was what we just did, and the bad part is I'm going to come to you directly right now. Texas Tech hammered you twice this year. You lost twice to them, and now they go to the Final Four, and you go to the finals to the NIT. There's a motivation there to say, hey, look, you know what? We play in the same conference that a team is going to the Final Four that really played as well as I think. And I've been talking with you during the whole season. There's been some portions of the game that I learned from Jerry Tarkanian, my best friend, of sitting around and talking basketball, the game I love, with him for hours and hours and hours, and I would just roll videotape. But there has to be a great motivation. Here you are 2 weeks ago. You become completely dejected because you get left out of the tournament, and then you take the bid to the NIT, and you have to go ahead and transform those young men's mind into getting ready to play at the level of Big 12. How big are conferences? Well, we're going to find out. We got a Final Four Big 12 member there, so that conference must be pretty darn good. Now you play 3 NIT games, and all of them were at home?
Yeah, all home, all but double-digit victories. We won pretty handily.
All right, so let me get to my next question. How big is your arena? It's a brand new arena because you have branded basketball. TCU has always been known as a football school, and I've been telling you, TCU is going to be a basketball school now because Jamie Dixon left the University of Pittsburgh. He went to TCU, his alma mater, to take over a program that was disastrous. It was disastrous, and nobody cared about TCU basketball. His first year back, you went to the NIT. You won the NIT, did you not?
Yes, we did.
How'd you do that?
Second year, we went to the NCAA tournament, and we were 6th seed. And, well, you know what? We had some pretty good players left, and we really bought in to that we was win now. There was no rebuild, and I didn't want those seniors to be a part of a rebuilding year in their senior year. So we really committed to, being the best team we could be, getting the best out of every guy we could, added some good players, and again, tough league. So we went through some challenges. We had a stretch of losses. We actually beat the number 1 team in the country, Kansas, in the Big 12 tournament. And by the end of that, we were playing our best basketball. We probably were an NCAA quality team at the end of the season. It definitely were. If you win the NIT, you're good enough to play in the NCAA tournament. There's no question about that. And then we went off and kind of used that to get to the NCAA tournament and finish the highest we've ever finished in the Big 12. So this year was a little bit of a setback. We started out great in the preseason. We had 4 guys go down with season-ending injuries. We're only playing with 7 players, all of us for 3 months now. And that's hurt our depth, hurt our defense. But, we're playing our best basketball, so it's pretty amazing considering the year we've had and the numbers we're playing with. But they keep working.
Well, you want me to tell you why? First of all, you built a culture down there now, and you have brought the excitement back to Fort Worth. TCU. Second thing is that I think this was your best coaching job this year. You, as I followed you all year long, I knew that I knew that the point guard went down. He left the program after an injury, and you retold, and then you lost like 3 additional players. You did your best coaching, and what I think that you really went to work is that you opened up your game offensively. The Big East was always a power game. You went to a wide out offense that put a lot of points on the board, and your offense was very difficult to defend against. I want to share with you, and I want to share with our audience about this because this is an important question I have. Jamie Dixon joining us here on Sport Kids. This is the TCU head basketball coach. We are doing this out of San Diego, and San Diego is a military town, and we love our military in San Diego, and a number of radio programs are produced with the military right out of these studios. And I want to talk a little bit about your sister. And your sister was a graduate of the University of San Diego.
Right.
And
she played basketball there.
Annie Dixon, and she became the head basketball coach
at West Point.
At West Point,
where we're pulling in right now. That's where we're practicing right now. Yeah, she.
Come on, dude. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, no, that's where we're at.
All right, so I'm bringing you
this
question about
Maggie.
Maggie. I'm sorry.
Her coaching. Yeah.
Excuse me. I got carried away here. Maggie Dixon. Excuse me for that. That's your sister. She was head coach of the West Point Cadets.
Mm-hmm.
Tell us a little bit about it, and tell us about your relationship.
Well, Maggie and I were very close, but we were young. There was a big age difference. She was 12 years younger than I was, and so I kind of was lived away when she was kind of growing up. I was always back and always saw her, and she was a big part of it. And the closest time we ever got, and most time we probably spent together, was when she moved up to New York. And became the head coach at West Point at 27, the youngest coach in the country. And she took over the team right before the season. It was a last-second hire, and the team had never won the Patriot League. They'd picked to finish last. And she took over the team in October, just started practicing, and they had a tough start in the non-conference and lost some games. But as the year went on, they started winning games and filling the arena, and the girls' team ended up winning the conference and then going on to win the Patriot League championship, the tournament, for the first time. And I always tell people that Maggie was the first one to take West Point to the NCAA tournament in either men's or women's. And Bob Knight and Mike Krzyzewski both were head coaches here, and they couldn't do that. So she was the first one, the male or female coach, to do that. So, and then, as you know, she right after that, at the age of 28, she passed away with sudden cardiac arrest 2 weeks after playing in the NCAA tournament, and up here at West Point on the post here at campus where we're at right now. So, we did this last year. Last time we won the NIT, we flew in because it's only about 45 minutes from New York City. So we fly in here and we practice, and then we'll drive down to the city afterwards and do the preparations for the NIT. We got media and a dinner and a luncheon and practice down at the Garden tomorrow. So, but this gives them a little history and a little appreciation for the cadets and the people that serve our country and protect us.
Oh, beautifully said. Jamie, I just lost my mother 3 or 4 months ago at 96, and it changed my whole outlook on everything that I ever lived up until that time, because that void was so overwhelming. And you are back at West Point, where your sister coached and got the cadets to the women's NCAA basketball tournament. She was a byproduct of the University of San Diego, and do you shed a tear? Do you feel when you got to West Point? I mean, there has to be some emotion that is beyond any comprehension that only you could feel. How do you feel?
Well, I mean, I talked to my parents. I called them as they were pulling in. We're literally just pulling into the stadium right now and going to the arena. So I don't know and timed it this way, but that's what we're doing. We're pulling in. We're going to go practice, and afterwards we'll go by, because Maggie's buried up here. She's one of the few civilian to be buried up here, and she's buried up here by a lot of famous people, and it's quite an honor to be asked to be allowed to be buried up here at West Point. So we'll go by and visit her grave and do that for my mom and my dad. So we're pulling in right now, Felix. So I got to head to practice, but I thank you for having us on here.
No, man. You made the world a better place with this piece that you've given up, and I know that the time constraints, and boy, I'll tell you what, it warms my heart. I've been doing radio for a long time. This is one of the best. We'll talk with you soon. TCU, NIT versus Texas. I thought that Wichita State was coming on very, very strong, and you might be matching up, perhaps seeing them sometime soon. We'll talk with you this week. Our condolences and our love to you, Jamie Dixon. Thank you.